Hi, I'm Miss Haley with the Huntsville-Madison County Public Library. Today I'm going to show you how to make some felt hoop art based off of the Pac-Man ghosts. So this right here is an example of what we'll be making today. This one is Clyde, the orange ghost, and there are 4 different ghosts. So there's Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde. Clyde is our orange one. And it's super simple to make these. So what you're going to need is, if you're only going to make one, you need to decide what color you want your ghost to be. So the ghosts are orange for Clyde, blue for Inky, pink for Pinky, and red for Blinky. So just decide what color ghost you want to make, or you can make all 4. If you're going to make all 4, you need all 4 of those colors, and you need more of the other pieces as well. So you'll need felt in the color you want. You need at least a 3-inch square to start with for your ghost body. So I'm going to make Pinky, I think, today. And then you are also going to need some white felt. I've just got 2 little pieces of scrap. His eyes are about, let me see, about 3/4 of an inch tall and about 1/2 inch wide. So you just don't need that much. You just need some white felt for the back of the eyes, and then some blue felt. And the blue felt should be the same color as your Inky, if that matters to you. It is the same color, or you could go darker. I just use the same color because then I only have to buy one color, but you can also go darker than that. And I just have a little piece because I'm going to cut 2 little circles out of it to be his pupils. So the ghost pupils are blue. Then you're going to need some black thread and a needle. Just a regular old hand sewing needle will work. Then you also need some fabric scissors, or just regular scissors if you don't have specific ones. A hot glue gun. This is optional. You can sew on the eyes if you want. You can see that when I originally made him, I sewed my whites of his eyes on using some white thread, and then I did the blue with the black thread. But I think it actually winds up looking better if you hot glue the eyes on. So that's what we're going to do today. But you can sew them. Hot glue gun. And then you need a embroidery hoop. You can get these. I think I got these in bulk from Hobby Lobby a long time ago. These felt hoops are, the actual inside of the hoop is 4 inches. It's a little bit bigger than that. So it's a 4-inch like mini embroidery hoop, and you need some black fabric. I just bought the cheapest black fabric I could find. That was cotton. And you stretch a square of it over your felt hoop, and then you pop it on and you close it up. I'm not going to show you guys that because I already had these pre-stretched. So I had made a bunch of these already. So I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. It's pretty simple. I think you guys can figure that one out. We will trim off this excess later, but for right now we're going to leave it on, because if we mess up at all or if we need to move it, we have a little bit of wiggle room. But once we trim it, you're kind of just stuck how it is. So to start out with, we are going to go ahead and cut our ovals out of here. So I'm going to stack my 2 little white pieces together, and I'm going to cut an oval shape out of them. I'm stacking them together because I want them to be about the same. They'll probably be a little bit different from each other. But you just cut an oval. It's about the size of like my index fingerprint part. These are a little bit bigger than what I originally had, so I'm going to trim them down a smidge. So I'm going to stack them together. I'm going to trim down just a little bit. There we go. So they're almost circles, but not quite. They're ovals. They're just not very long ovals. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my eyes out, and then I'm going to do the same with the blue pupils. So I'm just going to fold this over and then cut it in half along that fold. And I'm going to cut a little circle out. So those are circular. You don't have to be super precise. They don't have to be perfect circles. Unless you just really want them to be perfect. It's hard to kind of do that with felt. The thing is, you want them to be about the same size. So that's why I stack them. Right, and then we have our 2 blue pupils as well. So we're going to put those right there. And we're going to thread our needle. So to thread your needle, what you want to do, go ahead and cut off some black string. And wow, I cut way too much off. I do not think I need that much. I cut about an arm's length off. So I put, I'll hold the end up to my shoulder. And then I'll pull it out so that it's in my hand and my hand is stretched out. I know that's hard to imagine without seeing. And then I cut it. So I'm going to thread my needle. And if you have trouble threading needles, you can buy these little needle threader things also. But I sew a lot, so I'm going to match my 2 ends up like that. And I'm going to pull my needle so that the thread comes, and so it's centered on the other side end of the thread, and I have my 2 here. And I'm going to tie these in a knot. Now you can just tie them in a knot if you want, but a trick to doing that and getting your knot all in one place and having a nice thick knot, you need it thick enough that it can't be pulled through the fabric, which can be tricky to figure that out. So I take my needle and I set it on top of those 2 ends, and I'm going to hold that in my thumb like that, and I'm going to wrap it around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then I'm going to hold that part that I wrapped squished between my 2 fingers and push the needle through and pull that knot. If I keep holding it there, it'll wind up where I'm holding it. So I'm going to pull the thread through. A little uneven here. There we go. Pull the thread through until it makes a knot at the end. And it doesn't have to look pretty. This is kind of cheap thread, so it didn't come out pretty, but then you have a knot, hopefully nicer looking than mine, at the end of your thread. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, just going to stab my needle into my hoop there to hold it, and we are going to make our ghost. So our ghost, he's 3 inches tall, so he's 3 inches this way, but he's only 2.5 inches this way. So my fabric piece here is, I think, 3 inches by 3 inches. Give or take a little, not quite. They're rough. So I'm going to cut off just a little bit here. And you can use a ruler to do this if you want, or you can eyeball it. Now he's 2.5. That was actually pretty good. Not bad. So I'm going to round off the top. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to cut and go all the way up to the top and just kind of round that off so that we have sort of that shape, an arch. And then we need 3 feet. So I'm going to cut a wave here, and you can, if you want, you can use a pencil to draw that. So the wave starts here. The outside edge of him is the first foot on both. And we can draw down and up and down and up. Or you can just freehand it. But you can draw those on as long as you make sure you cut that off. Or if you can't get all of the markings cut off, you can use that as the back side that will go up against the felt hoop. Right. So 3 wobbly lines. So I do still have a little bit of pencil marking on mine. So when I attach him, I'm just going to make sure I attach it with that face down. So go ahead and position your felt hoop. Now if you want, I like to sew it on because I like that little border. I think that's cute. It looks handmade. It looks like a sewing project, and it's just really pretty. But you don't have to. If you want to hot glue this whole thing, you have that option. So you could just hot glue this on here. But I'm going to show it. So I'm going to place that in the middle. Just kind of eyeballing it. I'm not measuring or anything, but I'm making sure it's kind of in the middle. And we're going to take our needle. Whoops. Drop our needle. And we're going to come up through the back side. So I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to come up through the back side of my thing. And I want to get about that far from the edge. So we're going to come up through them and lay the needle down. So we're about that far away from the edge. That's about probably 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So we're going to come up, we're going to pull our thread all the way through until that knot catches, and we're going to make a stitch. And our stitch is going to be about as wide as it is far from the edge. So that width right there, that length of the stitch is about the same as the length here. Then we're going to come up, not directly next to it, a little further away. So like that. And the distance between the end of my thread here and where my next one is going to start is the same as the length of the stitch. You want to try to be as even as you can. And we're going to come through. And we're going to go back down. Like that. We're going to do this all the way around our little Pac-Man ghost. So all the way around. So he's attached. And always make sure you're going in the same side your thread's coming out of. So right now my thread is coming out of the back side. So I'm going to go in through the back side. That way, if I come back around here, then I'm going to have this weird line of thread coming across my piece. So we're just going to keep sewing. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to like get out a ruler and measure your stitches or anything like that. That'd be a little bit much. A little intense. We're just going to eyeball and try to get as even as we can. And you don't want huge stitches, because if you have a huge stitch, it just doesn't look very good. So, for example, if I went in like way over here, and I have this weird, huge stitch right there. So you want smallish stitches, but not teeny tiny either. Teeny tiny can look kind of sloppy sometimes. They're harder to get even, so they can look really messy. And they're just hard. They're really tedious. If you go really, really, really small on your stitches, they're really tedious to do. It takes you forever, because the smaller your stitches, the more of them you have to go all the way around. So just keep that in mind. Don't go crazy. Don't poke yourself like I just did. That hurt. And just go slow. If you go slow, your thread won't tangle. If your thread tangles, don't freak out. It's not a real knot. It's a twist. So just very gently start pulling it apart until it untwists. I don't know if I have enough thread. Maybe I went too short. I hope not. You need to make sure when you're coming to the end of your thread that you have enough that you can tie it off into a knot and into the thread. You don't want to end with just like that much left. You won't be able to finish it. So if you're running out, it's okay. Just make sure you don't go until you have too much. Otherwise, you wind up having to unpick your stitches a little bit. And what you do with these, so it doesn't have to look pretty on the back. What you're going to do with these is you can hang them, you can prop them up, but you could also hang them up, because there's this little ledge here in the back. You can put a nail or a tack or something in the wall, and you can hang this up on your wall. And it looks super cute, especially if you make a set, if you do make a set of ghosts. I do have a set somewhere. You do have a set of ghosts. It looks really cute to have them all 4 hung up. And you can do this with a lot of different things. Just make little kawaii creatures too. I've done some Star Wars themed ones. I think I've done some Pokemon themed ones. You can do a lot of different things with it. I've done a fox. The fox was really cute. But I thought we would start really easy today because the ghost is probably one of the easiest ones I've ever made. This one's pretty simple. Okay, so I want to show you, do you guys see how much thread I have left? It's not a ton. If I still had, so I'm almost done, so this will be plenty. But if I was like right over here and I still had all this to do and I only had that much thread left, it'd be better to go ahead and tie off your thread and end it and then get new thread and just keep going because you won't have enough to finish. But I think I will. So just one more stitch, I think. And when you're ready to end, make sure you go through. You want to end on the back side. So I've got my needle now coming through the back. My thread is coming through the back. This is going to be hard to see because it's black on black. But what you want to do, I'm going to bring it up really close. You're going to take a stitch just really close to where the thread is coming out, just through the black of the fabric, but behind, if you guys, well, I don't know how well you can see, I'm behind my felt piece. So I'm not going through my felt piece. I'm just kind of going behind my felt piece, going through the fabric, but not through the felt. That way it's not going to be visible from the other side. And I'm going to pull until I have a loop. You see my loop. And then I'm going to put my needle through it once, twice. Twice should be enough, but we're going to do 3 times just for good measure. 3 times. And we're going to pull it tight, as tight as we can go. And then we are knotted off. We just made a knot. And so you can trim the back of it. I don't trim all the way up close to it. You probably can't tell right now because it's black on black. But I do not trim all the way up because I don't want my knot to come undone and nobody is going to see the back side of this. So you don't have to worry about that. But we have our ghost body now sewn on. We can trim this stuff off. I like its position, so we can go ahead and trim off the excess fabric here. The reason we keep this on is if something moves while we're sewing. Sometimes you might press too hard, and if the hoop isn't super tight, it could pull the fabric. Maybe you have a lot of extra fabric left and your thing's not quite center. You could use it to adjust. There's a lot of different reasons, but like that. Trim that just a little bit more. You want it trimmed enough that it will not show when it's flat against the wall. And if you're having problems with it, if you just can't get a piece like quite short enough, you can hot glue it down to the back of the hoop. That is an option. And now it is time to attach our eyes. So I'm going to, I always like to position them first. The ghosts are going to look to the side, so we don't want them quite centered. We want them a little bit over to the right. Like that. And I'm just going to put a little glue on the back and put them down. I always leave the other one down while I'm gluing so that I have a reference point. Some glue on the back and press them down. Don't press too hard. You don't want to like poke through and pull your fabric through. This is if you wanted to leave the trimming to the end, that might be good if you don't trust yourself. But if you need to press, don't just press here. Put your hand on the back side of it and press like that, so that you're sandwiching it. And that way you don't run the risk of pulling your backing fabric out of the hoop because you're putting pressure on it. So now we're going to do his little eyes, and he's looking to the right, so his pupils need to be in the bottom right area of his eye. So kind of like that. Like that. And we have our Pinky. So now we have Pinky and Blinky. Pinky's eyes are a little closer together, but that's okay. Pinky and Clyde. I hope you guys have fun with this. I would love to see your little felt art, and you can share those with us on our Facebook page, which is Huntsville Madison County Public Library. We would love to hear from you. I hope you have fun with this craft, and check out some of our other ones. We've got a lot going on here on the channel. Thank you.